Welcome to the Everything Everywhere Travel Writer Podcast. Join award-winning freelance journalist Joan Matsui. Each week, you'll hear guests from all walks of life share their travel stories, tips, and advice on a variety of travel-related topics. Thanks for spending time with us today, and now it's time to dive into our interview.
Welcome to a very special Valentine's Day episode of the Everything Everywhere Travel Writer. My guest today is a travel expert, and she is also the author of All Over the Map. Without further ado, please welcome my special guest, Tanya Zaufi.
That's great to be here. I actually grew up in Edmonton, Alberta, in Canada, and went to school there. And I was always interested in travel when I was younger. And then growing up, I eventually ended up taking the travel consultant course, which kind of brought me down, I guess, my destiny, because that kind of brought me to the travel side. So I took the course. I ended up going to Australia, which had always been my dream. I was always looking at magazines and fantasizing about where I'd like to go. And then once Australia happened, it was kind of like, I need a new dream. But anyways, after I did the travel consultant, I kind of started working at some resorts. And then I worked at a hot spring resort, a ski resort.
Where
And
was
then I
that
ended up,
one? Where was that? Where was the hot spring resort?
the hot spring was Fairmont Hot Springs. It's in BC. It's a place in BC, and the ski resort was only a half hour from it, which was Panorama Ski Resort in British Columbia as well, in BC. And so I did those two stints, and then after that, I went back to Edmonton for a little bit, and I applied for a job at a hotel out in Kelowna, beautiful British Columbia, and I ended up getting a job there. So that's what brought me out to Kelowna. And I worked there for half a year, and then I was going to get laid off, which I didn't know would happen.
Oh my
And I
goodness.
was wondering, then what was I going to do? So a girlfriend of mine had said that she had known somebody that worked on a cruise ship, and we applied and we got the job. So that's how that all kind of happened. And it kind of fell into my lap, but I was open to the idea, definitely.
So both of you began working on the cruise ship. You didn't go it alone then. It was you and one of your co-workers.
Right. Well, we thought we were, which I had never known anybody to work on a cruise ship ever. And I
Oh,
was a little bit leery. I was just like, is it true? They're going to pay for me to get there and mail me my plane ticket and go to
mhm.
all these exotic places. And so when I was waiting for my information, because we did both get hired, we just were naive. We thought we would be going together. We didn't, though. I got my information
Oh.
first. My girlfriend got her information later, and we were separated, and I went off to work on the Rico Princess, and she ended up somewhere else a couple weeks later.
So you weren't even on the same cruise ship.
No,
Oh
nope.
my
So
goodness.
yeah, I ended up going there on my own. I flew down to Puerto Rico, and same thing, like my family, as I was saying, we had never heard of anybody to work on a cruise ship. So when I got my FedEx package and it had my paid for plane ticket and my itinerary, it was just like, is this going to be true? Is somebody going to be at the
Mhm.
airport to pick me up?
And what
And they were.
happened?
Yeah,
Oh,
they were. They brought me to the beautiful Wyndham Hotel, and it just kind of felt like a bit of a fantasy. I couldn't believe that it was happening, but yeah, and it all worked out. But yeah, I feel fortunate to have been able to experience that.
what emotions did you have when you arrived on this cruise ship? Because I mean, those cruise ships are massive. So what was that like when you got there and you're like, holy moly, I'm alone here. What did you think about all of that?
Well, it was, in the beginning, I was kind of like I was saying, I wasn't really, I was just like, is somebody going to be there to pick me up? So I was a little bit nervous, and I had all those nerves. And then once they were, and then it just all seemed like a little bit of the fairy tale. And then when I did get to the ship the next day, I'd never seen a cruise ship, never been on a cruise ship. And so when I
Wow,
went,
wow.
oh yeah, it was amazing. I mean, the ship is massive, and it's 14 stories tall, and it's something that seemed like out of a movie, right? And yeah, so I got to experience that and go on the ship, and definitely is huge. And when you first get on the ship, you don't know which way's which, and you're getting lost, and it's like you need a map, and it's a whole nother world inside the ship.
You could get your exercise literally walking around walking around the cruise ship, right? I mean, you get your 10,000 steps in and like, well, in one stroll around it, I imagine, right?
Oh, it's true. It's
Yeah,
true. I know. And then kind of when you get there, then they're telling you check into the crew office. You go through security, you check into the crew office and get your information. Then you have to go down to deck two and get your uniforms and such. And that's just a trick in itself to try to find your way. And yeah, and the same day I'd met my cabin mate who had ended up being was an Italian girl, and it was her
right.
first day ever working on a cruise ship too. So we were literally in the same boat.
I did really, really enjoy reading about Anna, which is
Savina.
Savina.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that was, I love the way you described her. You know, I could envision this Italian woman having a wonderful, wonderful experience on the cruise ship.
Definitely was, vivacious and
Right,
full of
right, right.
life.
Yes.
Yeah, and, it was funny because her interactions sometimes, she'd get talking and then she'd speak Italian and then she'd have to translate into English and stuff, and so, yeah, it was fun, and I mean, we got along great, and, yeah, it was a wonderful experience to have her as a roommate too, because and like I said, we were literally both new and never experienced this before, so we didn't even know what we were getting into at all.
Now, what I don't imagine that anything could have prepared you for what was about to happen when you got on the cruise ship. It was almost, well, not instantaneous, but it wasn't long after you were on the ship that you met. I will let you take it from there. What was that like? And what did you expect from all of this? Were you just thinking, well, I'm going to go to work and I'll meet a lot of wonderful people. What did you think about?
Yeah, I guess I didn't have too many expectations about it. Like I just thought that it would be an experience and then it was essentially paid travel
Right,
and I would get to visit all these places and meet a lot of different people. And I never really had thought that romance, if you want to say, like I wasn't
right.
looking for a boyfriend, if you want to say. And I mean, even before I went on the cruise ship, when I was leaving, I had a conversation with my mom. She, for some reason, was always worried I'd meet somebody from another country and move away. And I was
Oh,
joking with her. I'm like, don't worry, I won't meet somebody from another country. And when I did on the ship, my very first day on the cruise ship, which is in the book,
right.
near the beginning of the book, I did have a love at first sight moment with a handsome, charismatic guy from Austria. It was just kind of, I had that moment. But within the book, it kind of becomes so much more because, we lived the fantasy life, if you want to say, on the cruise ship and went to all the islands and exotic places and the beaches and, just got carried away with that. But then reality sets in. And when you go to land, it's a whole different thing when you're on land to navigate a relationship.
Excuse me, I'm sure that you wondered, okay, now what do we do to keep this going, to keep this relationship going? You obviously are a believer in love at first sight. I mean, you firsthand, you had that happen to you. Tell me more about that experience. And that wasn't by any chance around Valentine's Day, was it?
No, no, it wasn't on Valentine's Day. It was actually I joined the ship in the middle of November, so it
Oh,
was yeah, so it was before Valentine's Day, but while we were on the ship, we did experience our first Valentine's Day together as a new couple and such, and as you will read about in the book, Joseph was the handsome Austrian. He went all out and spoiled me on Valentine's Day and surprised me, and we had our time together. So, yeah, it was just all around a beautiful time. I never thought that that's what would become of working on the cruise ship at all.
what about Joseph? Now, have the two of you discussed this a lot? Like, do you ever look back and talk about those days and even afterwards maybe asked, like, what was it in me that, that attracted you to me? Have you done that? Like, have you really reminisced a lot about it?
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Often we do talk, and like he says, he actually saw me even before I came in to the muster station. And literally, when I saw him, it was my love at first sight, let alone, but I was going to the lifeboat drill and wearing my uniform and a life jacket. So, you know,
Is that in any way symbolic, the life jacket?
save me, right? It's like,
Falling in love.
I know. Oh, it's perfect. I mean, and hence that's also why there's the heart-shaped life ring with the
Right.
cover of the book, because here's the cover of the book behind me. But yeah, so it is interesting, right? Yeah, that was our moment. And he actually says that he saw me, even before I came in. So he kind of had the same moment as I did, which at first I didn't know either, right? It was just kind of like, oh, who is this guy? But yeah, it was pretty special for sure. But let alone just that, for in the book, there was just so much more that happened throughout a relationship and all the ups and downs and sideways and yeah, things that we never expected would happen after the cruise.
There was something you mentioned, or it's not mentioned, but something I read in your book that there were some ups and downs where, you wanted to see Joseph and he was off with his friends, or you might not see him for a couple of days. We all kind of remember that feeling of anticipation. Are we going to see this person again? I'm sure that you knew that you would eventually see him again. But that anticipation of that young love type of feeling, what was that like? I mean, there were nights when you didn't see him.
Yeah, when you're on the cruise ship, there's only so many places to see the other crew members. So it's kind of around deck or at the crew bar, really, in the social places. And so if they don't come to the crew bar that night, you're probably not going to see them because he worked in a different department than I did. And so I wouldn't see him that way. But, and at times, yeah, it was like, where is he, or how can I
Yeah,
get a hold of him and and see him, and like you say, the anticipation, and then the anticipation also with all the new crew members coming in, and then there was other girls, and of course they would like, I could see that they were flirting with him, and
hmm.
it's just all the things that get into your head too, right?
Did you get those feelings of jealousy about some of
Oh,
the other women who were, and did he realize that, do you think?
yeah, for sure. I mean, there was this one girl, Beth, who I do speak about in the book as well, but she would flirt with him and he would kind of talk to her back. And I'm like, is he flirting with her? Is he like her? But that's just also how he was as a person. He's just nice and talks to everybody. And you know what I mean? And I could take it the wrong way, being in a new relationship and young love and maybe being a bit insecure, you know what I mean? Just wondering if he has the same feelings as I do, because maybe back then didn't communicate it as much either, right? Romance that was back and forth and sideways and accidents, and you didn't know what was going to happen. And yeah, it was ups and downs for sure that we had to overcome.
If you do the math and you think about all the women working on that cruise ship and all the men working, what is the likelihood that you're going to meet one man, that the two of you are going to feel that connection to one another? What is the likelihood of that? I mean, people want to talk about fate. Obviously, there is fate. I believe there is. What about you?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I totally believe that that was our fate. That was my destiny to be there, and it was meant to be. Like, I definitely believe in that. But then, too, all comes into play where it comes down to when you meet somebody on a cruise ship, most likely the other person is going to be from another country. So then it's like, then what are you going to do? It's everything else that comes into play, and it's going to be sacrifices and compromises that have to be made. And it's not just so easy to move to another country and pick up and go and leave everything behind. And so that's the other part of it, right?
Yes, definitely. What advice do you give to women or men who are thinking about going to work on a cruise ship? What is your advice? Like, what were the benefits? Were there any drawbacks to working on one? I can't imagine there were too many, but just to curiosity.
For me, it was an amazing experience. Like, if you enjoy travel and such, it doesn't get any better than that. I mean, it was paid travel. So that was such a huge opportunity. Your travel is paid for. So for me, my plane ticket was paid for, your accommodation, your food. All you need is your spending money. So if you're not paying rent or anything at home, it's all just your spending money. So you can also save a lot of money. And then when you're in port, you get to go out and see all the places that you are, and you get to experience everything, whether you want to go snorkeling or depends what department you worked in. But when I was at the front office in guest services, and we could take excursions and we didn't even have to pay for it, which I had no
Amazing.
idea. Yeah, it
Amazing.
was amazing. Like, I took the seaplane tour around the Caribbean, and you know what I mean? It was in a helicopter in Alaska, and just amazing things that I was able to do. But yeah, I mean, I definitely would say it is an amazing opportunity. However, too, it is a lot of work. You do not get a day off
Right.
at all. And it depends what you do on the cruise ship, though. For me, I was an officer, like I said, a junior assistant purser, and I worked approximately 56 hours a week. So that's not too bad. And it was split shifts. Joseph, he worked about 100 hours a week, and that's a
Wow.
huge difference. I mean,
What did he do?
he was a
What?
pastry chef.
Oh,
Yeah.
was that his background, or
Yep.
was that what he did before?
Yeah,
Mm.
he went to culinary school, one of the best schools in Europe, and so his whole background was culinary and such. So yeah, he was pastry chef, and he's done head pastry chef, and yeah, so it was pretty amazing. However, I will say, and as he should, he got paid more because he worked more hours, and he had a higher position than me, but he should get paid more as well. But the amount of difference in hours is it's astronomical. I'll be honest. If I had to work 100 hours a week, I don't know if I could do that. But so it depends on your position on the ship. But it's interesting because working on the ship it's like a small city. They need every type of worker, whether it's in the office, or if it's an engineer, or if it's housekeeping, or the waiter, and or the retail shops and the spa and entertainers. It's like a city.
Wow, that is amazing. And what a romantic thing he does, even pastry chef on top of that. Oh my goodness. And by the way, I have seen his photographs and he is handsome.
Oh,
He really is. Very, very handsome. Two of you make a really stunning couples. Oh, I just want
oh,
to throw that
thank
out
you.
there. Overall, what did you learn about yourself and your needs in terms of love while you were working? Did you uncover parts of your personality that you didn't know, existed? So
Do you mean on the cruise ship?
yes, while you were there.
On the cruise ship, I'm pretty easygoing, and would always go with the flow. So I'm pretty open-minded that way,
Yeah,
and which is good because that's partially how you have to be. Like, you'll have some time together, but it's not all the time, and they're working or they're tired or stuff. So the relationship on the cruise ship isn't. It sounds like a fairy tale, but it's not either. You
sure
know what I
does.
mean?
Yes.
Yeah. And then you've got your roommates, and you've got to, find some alone time, and things like this. And so, yeah, it's kind of like a little bit of patience as well, and just enjoying in the moment, I guess, too, is what it is.
Where were some of the destinations you visited? I know this is going to make me weaken my knees just listening to it because, as you know, I'm also a travel writer, but and to do my work in, locally or more in a regional area about around where I live. But I mean, for you, you're all over the place, all over the map, so to speak. What are the destinations you visited? Where were some
Literally.
stopovers?
Princess Cruises. It was around the Caribbean, and we went, yeah, like St. Thomas, Grenada, Aruba, Puerto Rico. We went to Acapulco. We went into Venezuela and Colombia. And then we did a transitioning cruise, which also brought us up to Alaska. Oh, yes, and we did the Panama Canal too. But with our transitioning cruise, we also, yes, went up to Alaska. And then so we ended up doing Vancouver and Victoria in Canada, which was great because that was my home turf, but which was amazing. And then after I worked on Princess, and at times when Joseph and I were not together and separated and trying to overcome some struggles that we had, I ended up working on Renaissance Cruise Lines, which was a European cruise line. So now that
Oh,
brought me
wow.
over. Yeah, it was amazing. It
Oh,
brought me
wow.
over into the European waters. And we lived in France for a month on land, which I go into in the book as well. And then we had an amazing itinerary there too, and all around the Mediterranean. Like, we did Spain, Gibraltar, Malta. We went into Turkey and Israel and all around Greece. And oh, it
Oh
was
my
beautiful.
gosh. You've been, well, I won't say everywhere, but where have you not been? Where have you not traveled to?
Also in the book, I talk about where I went backpacking to Australia before I went on the cruise ship, which was an amazing experience in itself. So, but one place that I never got to, which we had planned, but it didn't work out, the funds kind of ran out, but I would love to go to Tahiti.
Oh,
More,
yes.
yeah, Cook Islands, Fiji, more in the South Pacific there, just do some of those islands there. That, yeah, one place, the few places down there that I haven't been that I would still love to see. But like I said, yeah, I've been very fortunate with the cruise lines to see a lot. And then besides that, Joseph and I had some fantasy vacations, and then we'd go and see places together too, which I get into in the book as well. So it was, yeah,
Oh,
I feel fortunate for sure. And then after I worked on Renaissance, I worked on Disney Cruise
I
Line, which
remember
is in
you
the book,
mentioned that. Yes.
which is an experience in itself, because I was saying, who doesn't want to have Mickey and Minnie Mouse as their best
Right,
friend?
exactly. Yes, I read that. I know you didn't mention that. I read that in your book.
Yeah, I mean, it was it, and all the cruise ships were amazing in a different way. Princess, it was my first experience, so
Mhm.
I had my love at first sight moment, and it was the Love Boat. Like some scenes from the TV show, the Love Boat was filmed on the ship. When I worked on one position on the ship, which I talk about, it was I was a secretary for the chief purser, and I went into my office drawer, and there was a picture of Captain Steubing with the
Oh,
cruise ship.
wow.
Yeah,
Oh, my goodness. Oh, my
it
goodness.
it was funny, right? And it just brings back the Love Boat. And then when I went and worked on Renaissance, it was just such a very European cruise ship that it reminded me of the beautiful love story of the movie Titanic, and it just
Mm.
reminded me of that. And then, like I said, Disney was just so different with these having the characters running around the ship all the time. And yeah, it was an amazing experience.
What is the reaction now, and what are the rules about romance on a cruise ship? What are some of the rules? Are you technically allowed to get into a relationship with one of your work coworkers?
You are allowed to get in a relationship with one of your coworkers, and they don't really put any stipulations along that, as long as you're, yeah, it's fine as long as you're doing your thing and you're coming to work and everything like that, but that nothing's holding you back for that area. And there definitely is no fraternizing with the guests. That is a no-no. Depends what you do on a ship. Like when on the cruise ships, in my position, I was allowed to go out and mingle with the passengers and such. And, you could go to the restaurant and talk with them and about their day or island night, and there would have the music and a dance, but you leave that there. And then you go back in the crew areas, and if you fraternize with the guest, you are sent home the next paying your own plane ticket home.
Oh, that must be rough. What if you meet someone, one of the guests, and so what, right? No go. There's no.
Don't do it. Yeah. No, you can't. So, I never, even on, yeah, with any of the other cruise ships, the passengers were the passengers, is
Right.
kind of, I guess, how you had to look at it. And the crew members is the ones where you could, mingle with on that kind of the side of things to entertain the thought of a relationship. But yeah, with the passengers, no. And I mean, depends how long the cruise is. They might only be, if the cruise is 10 days, you're only there for 10 days, right?
Yeah.
So what's the point of that, I guess?
Yeah, I guess, but I'm thinking about one of those moments, you look up and there's a guest and you're thinking, oh my goodness, he's gorgeous, or, I'd love to meet him, but not an option, right? No.
Not an option. Yeah, no, I never came across anybody that did, so I don't know, but you would literally be sent home and fired. Yeah. And
What?
then that would be your whole experience would be gone. So I wouldn't even entertain the thought. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, you were preoccupied anyway. So you were definitely preoccupied, and it was great that you met him immediately, so that
Yeah.
kept you busy, and out of trouble, and not that you would have done that, but I mean, it certainly gave you a focus for that particular, trip you were on.
Oh, for sure.
I
For
mean,
sure.
on
Yeah.
all of the cruise ships. What, of all the countries and all the destinations you visited, what was your favorite? Was there one in particular? I mean, I probably would have a difficult time. One.
It's hard. Oh, it's hard for sure. For me, one place that I had always wanted to see, and before I went would look in travel magazines, was Greece and Santorini. I just had this visual in my mind that it's all the whitewashed buildings with the blue domed roofs, and it literally is like that when you get there. It's gorgeous, and it's, up on top of the mountain, and yeah, it's amazing. Like, it was beautiful. It was everything I imagined it to be. So Santorini would be on the top of my list for sure.
Okay.
Definitely. And one other place that was amazing that I never really had it in the realm of my thought was the Dead Sea. It was beautiful. I mean, and just such an amazing experience. And we went to the Masada first, and just to be there. And I don't know, I guess maybe too, because like I said, I never thought I'd even have that opportunity to go there. So it was amazing.
I mean, the water and the beaches and
Oh,
gotta be just. I all I can think of right now is I want to go somewhere.
I
I
know.
want to go somewhere. I want to be on a beach somewhere, relaxing with my feet in the sand, and it just sounds outrageous.
That's so true. And that's what we say too about, sometimes when about my book, I'm like, you can escape when we can't travel right now and read the book and maybe come across a new destination that you would have never thought that you would want to go to.
Yeah, I would. I don't want to give away too much, but I would like you to talk a little bit about the book. What led you to write a book? Was that something you always wanted to do?
Yeah, it's kind of funny because I never had really thought of writing a book. And one day I was watching Ellen DeGeneres, and she had on Inspiring People. And I thought, oh, Joseph inspires me. And just because so many things we had to overcome in our relationship and to get where we were. And so I was going to write a letter to Ellen DeGeneres. And I started the letter, and it morphed into my book. And that's how
That
that started.
letter is what morphed into your book.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. So what
Yeah,
did you do? You just kept writing or typing or.
I did. I wrote out the letter, and then it just kind of got bigger and bigger. And then I'm like, I'm just going to write down my story. And you know what I mean? And then I just kind of put the letter on the side burner and just kept writing. And, in the beginning, the writing just came right out, and I was just writing the whole story. And then I had to go back and, think back and remember and what else happened during that time. But kind of, yeah, it all was in memory. That I remembered pretty much
I
everything.
mean,
And
that's a very detailed book. It is a very detailed book. How you remembered everything. And not only is it detailed, it's funny, it's romantic. I mean, it is the perfect book to
thank
someone
you.
or to read. And I'm going to put this up right in front of my face so that anyone who is watching can see this book. Now, also see that this was a letter. And now it is a book. How many pages are in here? There are
I think. Yeah.
333
Yeah.
pages. So, did you ever send the letter to Ellen?
Since I have published the book,
Yeah.
I'm a self-published author. I have since sent her a copy of my book.
Oh, great. Yeah.
I know. And I sent her a copy of the letter that was written 10 years ago, because it took me 10 years to write this book. It was,
Right.
yeah, it was an endeavor. And then I also sent her an updated letter. So, I mean, I hope she would read the book and see it. But yeah, I did send it to Ellen. So it is funny, though, that what started my book journey.
Oh, that's amazing. What do you do right now aside from, are you writing other books or what else do you like? What other type of work?
Well, this book had a lot of information in it. And as I had said earlier, I went backpacking to Australia, which
Right.
I do talk about in this book as well, but
Right.
it is a little condensed because so much happened on that trip. So I pulled out that information and I set it aside, and it's pretty much another book that's ready to go. Like, I have
Oh
to
my
go back.
goodness.
Yeah, I have to go back and fill in, and remember more and think back a bit. But yeah, the basics of it is all there, plus some. And so I have that sitting there to work on. That's my next thing that I'd love to do. And
Is,
it would
is,
almost be like a prequel to this book.
is it ready? Is it ready to go? I mean,
It's
oh
getting there.
wow.
Some more things to do and add to that, because that trip I think I took in, this is going to age me. But I took it in 1994. So, it was, yeah, lots of different things back then, and it was an amazing experience. I went there when I was 19 anyways, and then other than that, then working on my books, I also work part-time at the school, at an
Oh,
office in the
wonderful.
school.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes in the library. So it's right up my alley.
Well, let me just put this out there. My book has got an autograph in it. So I am hoping that when when your new book is ready to go, I will be able to put that next to this one and also
Oh,
an autographed copy. I think that was wonderful. I cherish this book. I love it.
oh, thank you so much, Joan. I appreciate that. Definitely to get the signed copy for sure. It's wonderful.
Sure. Well, just write me, put my name on your list. Um,
I will. I'll let you know when my next book is out. I'll contact you.
I read, and I believe it was on your website, you gave some tips about keeping your relationship healthy. What people can do to keep their relationship healthy. As much as I know Valentine's Day when I was young wasn't as materialistic as it is right now, what can people do to connect without being so materialistic, so focused on giving and receiving roses? Or, I mean, because we all know they're astronomical, the price of roses. What if someone can't afford it? What are some other things they can do for Valentine's Day?
Sometimes too, it's just don't put so much emphasis just on Valentine's Day. It's a day, it's a beautiful day to celebrate and remember the people or have the people that you love and show them that you love them. But it can be simple things. Make them a playlist and that you're thinking of them. All these songs remind me of you. Like
Right.
throughout my book, I have songs in there as well, which is always a connector. I hear that song and I'm like, oh, this reminds me of that moment or Joseph or whatever it is. But it's the simple things, even just make a beautiful dinner and have those moments and turn on the fireplace or watch a romantic movie and cuddle. It doesn't have to be expensive things that you have to do. It's just the quality time to spend and to talk and really connect that way.
That's wonderful advice.
Yeah, like have your date night at home and yeah, just it's for me it's the simple things kind of like make the romantic dinner and have that and just share that quality time like I said. Yeah, I've never kind of been like where oh we have to go out either. It's
Mm,
just spending the time together and really enjoying the moment,
right.
taking in the moment, right? For me, how it was the love at first moment, but it's just something about that person that draws you to them,
Mhm.
and you like they're funny or like for me Joseph was so charismatic and carry a room and he was funny and I love that we like joke back and forth and kind of be light, so it's just kind of that draw I guess for the person, right, to the other
Yeah.
that you just see and you're like there's just something about them, like kind of like he was my magnet. Like I was always just drawn to him, kind of like that where it just my heart, and just does give you the butterflies, I guess, right?
Well, what else? What else would you like to say about your book and your life that you would like my listeners to know about you?
For my book, if you love travel
Mhm.
and romance, it's a great mixture. And also because with the romance, it has the ups and downs and the sideways, and it's literally a roller coaster of emotions and kind of
Right.
all over the map, as we say.
Right.
Yeah. And there's lots of different stories in it and different traditions that I come across in different countries. So there's things that you may have never heard of before either and might learn of a new destination that you're interested in going to. And so yeah, there's lots of different little things that are in there, so it's something different and it's a fun read as well,
Mhm.
right?
Oh yeah.
It's not a heavy book, but yeah, it kind of a feel good story is what it is.
When we are able to travel again, where will you go? What list of places that you cannot wait to see?
I would love to go back over into Europe, and I just love it over there. It's just so beautiful, and maybe kind of go into Italy and Switzerland, and it's just so easy to get around places over there. But I would love to go and experience that. And there's so many places, though. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
over there, it's so easy to get around. Whether you take the train or if you're going to hop on a plane, and it's not that expensive because I'm in Canada and to fly across Canada it's pretty expensive. So
Yes.
that's kind of the difference here. But at the same time, I would love to go across Canada, even drive a motorhome across Canada and do something different. So
Now, were you in the Maldives? Had you been to?
no, I would love to go there too.
Oh my
See
gosh.
so many places. Oh my gosh, yeah.
Oh, what I would like to know is where my listeners can get in touch with you and where they can buy a copy of your book. Where is your book available?
My book is available on Amazon. You can buy it in paperback or ebook. And as well, if you have smash words, it's available there in Ingram Spar. And if people want to get in touch with me, please feel free. I'm available to answer any questions that you have through Facebook. I'm at Tanya Zaufi, author. And on Instagram, I'm at Tanya.Zaufi, Zaufi. And I'm also on Twitter at Tzaufi.
So now we know where to get in touch with you. Wonderful. I am so glad that you were able to join me tonight. And I think after you do your next book, we'll have to connect again and we'll talk about Australia and your experience there.
I would love that. Thank you so much for having me. I've appreciated the time and I've enjoyed talking with you about my book, definitely. But I will get in touch with you once my Australia book is signed, sealed, and delivered. I have to dive back into it.
Thank you and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you. Have a wonderful evening.
Yes.
Please visit joanmatsuitravelwriter.com where you can subscribe to the show so you'll never miss an episode. While you're there, check out the travel writing courses, membership support platform, and private coaching services to help you learn travel writing. If you found value in the show, we would appreciate a rating on iTunes, and don't forget to tell a friend.